Hello, DK families, and welcome to Curriculum Night. Thank you for joining me virtually tonight so that we can talk over some things about what to expect this year in DK and how our classroom runs, and some other things that you might just be wondering about our class and about our curriculum. So thanks again for being here tonight. I can't wait to share information with both me and the class with you tonight. Okay, so a few things about myself. I live right here in Lake Orion. In fact, I live just down the street from Carpenter, and I have four stepchildren and one son. And my husband is a teacher in Lake Orion as well. He teaches PE out at Oakview. We also have one cat, aptly named Kitty. Because the toddler was in charge of naming him, and that's what we came up with. So my oldest stepson is Aiden. He lives out in Colorado. He goes to class at CU Boulder. I have a 23-year-old stepdaughter named Olivia, and she is out at Yellowstone working the national park there. I have a stepdaughter, Amaya, and she lives at home with us and she goes to school at OCC. And I have a stepson, Cameron. He's a junior at LOHS and he's the percussionist of the family with the marching band. And then my son, Layton, is here at Carpenter with me. He's a third grader. And that's a little bit about my family. Here are just a few pictures of my family. There in the center is everyone. Next to me is my husband, Jeff, and then Aiden, and then Cameron, and the girls in the middle, Amaya and Olivia, and Layton down front. And the top left picture was from Amaya's graduation, and under that was a family trip to Key West. We love to travel together. And the bottom right is where Aiden and Layton and I are out on a hike. We love to be outdoors, and my husband Jeff and I. A bit about my background in education. I went to Oakland University, both for my undergraduate work as well as my master's programs. So my undergraduate is in elementary education, and my graduate work was with early childhood development and reading. So I have taught in Lake Orion. This is my 17th year. I can't believe it. And I have taught many things at many different places, and you can see it on the screen there. But my favorite of all of them has been the past couple of years with DK. And I feel like I have gone back to my home here at Carpenter and have settled in with the little ones, which is really where my heart has always been. And so I just put there some things that we like to do or that I like to do. I love to cook. I love to griddle. My kids got me a Blackstone this year for my birthday, and I am having a lot of fun griddling for the family. I like camping and hiking and campfires and that kind of thing. I also enjoy spending hours wandering aimlessly through Target, oftentimes spending more than I intended to. I also can be found breaking out in song and dance to 80s hits and 90s R&B songs. Ask my son, he's the one that has to drive in the car with me the most. But I really enjoy doing anything with my friends and family, and just enjoying life. So here in DK, I like to keep the rules simple, and the expectations for the kids should be developmentally appropriate in what I expect of them. Of course, right, we are in DK for a reason. It's because your kiddo has a birthday later in the year, and so they are in DK because they could use a little extra time to grow. So the expectations are we take care of ourselves, we take care of each other, we take care of our school, and we take care of our world. And the next slide will kind of go over these a little bit more specifically and how it relates to the classroom. So what do these rules look like more specifically? So taking care of ourself or myself would be things like keeping my body under control when I'm sitting on the rug, or washing my hands when I'm finished using the bathroom, or never giving up when something is difficult. Things like that. You can see the list here. Taking care of each other. This one is huge, and one that we work really hard on in DK, and that is things like being kind to our friends and showing empathy when someone is hurt or someone is sad. Listening to each other, listening to the teacher, and asking others to play with us and including others, and waiting your turn and things like that. Those are all really huge in DK. And then taking care of our school, things like when you spill on the floor, clean it up or ask for help, or when we walk in the hallways, we walk quietly so we don't disturb other classrooms. And then taking care of our world is a little bit bigger than our school, but I think it's important to also be a part of a larger community. So things like recycling, we have a recycling bin here in the classroom, and I always model picking up litter or not littering. When sometimes when the weather is nice, we'll eat snack outside, and we need to make sure that we put our garbage into the trash can. And when they use the bathroom, we turn the water off to make sure that we're not wasting water, and things of that nature. So going along with those expectations, you should be on the lookout this year for some shout outs that will come home in their Friday folder. And here are a couple of examples of ones you might see. So-and-so did an amazing job today of taking care of myself. And I will circle what they did that I was really proud of. I do, at the end of the day, show these to the class, and we all clap and cheer for each other for meeting these expectations. We call it giving each other a shout out. And then also the one on the right hand side of the screen there is something that you might see as well. Like, we can take care of our school, like Claire did a great job cleaning up after centers. So these will be on colored paper, and they will be in their Friday folder, and something that I'm hoping that you will make a big deal about at home as well. So again, DK being that really awesome year of growth for these kids, we don't focus on academics right off the get-go. We instead spend much of the first semester working on those core foundational skills that are going to be so good and critical for them to have the rest of all of their schooling years. So this would be all of those skills like I was talking about before that go into that taking care of each other and taking care of myself. So learning how to stand in line and keep your hands to yourself, and how to sit at your seat and be respectful to your table mates, and how to sit on the rug while keeping your personal space, and how to take turns when playing toys, and what to do when there's a conflict, and um, all of those things that are just so important in life. So that is our focus at the beginning of the year. So you will not be seeing much of anything coming home other than maybe some coloring sheets, and that's normal, and that is what you should expect here in DK. Even in the spring, other than art projects, you won't really see a lot of their learning, and that's because it's happening here in the classroom. Unlike older students where you can see tests and worksheets and things like that that will come home. Here in DK, a lot of our work is done hands-on. So we're using manipulatives, we're playing games, we're doing things together as a group. And that is how we learn and grow in DK. And so while we do get more academic as the year goes on, of course, keeping kindergarten in mind, I know exactly what they need to know for kindergarten, and trying to get them there at their own pace and while being, of course, developmentally appropriate here in DK. This daily schedule is still being ironed out at this point. I am still trying to make our schedule work for our class. I don't like to make it ahead of time. I like to see where the class is at and kind of develop the schedule around them. So while Miss Foraker and I are still ironing this out, this is a basic schedule of what our day looks like. So we arrive and we go through the routine of, you know, putting our lunches away and putting our snacks away and deciding if today is a hot lunch and what would you like to order and things of that nature. Get your iPads out, get your water bottles out. And while that is happening, the kids are making play choices. These play choices are the time for them to really be working on those skills, those social skills that we talked about before. Then we'll come together for what we call our morning meeting, and that is where we watch the announcements. We talk about things from our day or what might you be doing over the weekend or things like that. We also usually read a story. We sing our morning song, and it just kind of gets us going in the morning. From there, we play with what's called table toys, and the table toys are specific manipulatives, usually a little bit more focused on math or language, and they are played at the table. Miss Foraker and I walk around and we nudge and encourage certain ways, you know, that we might use the manipulatives cooperatively amongst the group. And this would be things like stacking and patterning and counting and letter recognition and things like that, but done in a very playful way. So then after that we break, we get some movement going, get those bodies up and moving, and then we have our morning recess outside if the weather permits and our snack, which then takes us into circle time. That usually involves a story and then an activity that goes with it. Then we go into our learning centers, which is a time for the kids to rotate around the room to different activities, as well as some small group time with both me and Miss Foraker each day. So they might play Chutes and Ladders with Miss Foraker, or they may work on their fine motor journals with me. And that's a really nice time for us too, because we can get to know them that way, and we love that time. Then after learning centers, it's time for lunch and recess. Then after that, we work on our social emotional learning, and that is kind of the heart of DK there, where we give specific instruction and specific lessons on those social skills. What to do when you don't know how to hang up your coat, what to do when your friend won't let you play with them, what to do when you are feeling nervous that your mom has not come to pick you up yet. You're still in line. These are all things that are explicitly taught. And it's a really wonderful time. We use puppets and we do role play and we act things out and we really explore our feelings and things like that. This is also a time of the day when we do our P2, which is a school-wide program about the 24 character traits that make us who we are. And so we will also talk about those, which is really fun. And the words are very big. Which can be a little intimidating if you see it, you know, in our newsletter, like practicing perseverance. But it's true, and it's one of our skills, and how to not give up and how to keep trying. And so we really like to learn those P2 traits as well. From there, we go to our specials classes, which of course are art, PE, music, and media, which is like library. After that, toward the end of the day, when they're feeling rather spent, it's a perfect time for us to wind down a little bit and have some rest time. We usually watch a Daniel Tiger video, and then we'll talk about what did Daniel learn and how can we apply that to our life. And then we get ready to go home. And it's been a great day in DK. So the curriculum in DK is hitting those 4 most important pieces to the whole child: social, emotional, cognitive, and physical. And so I'll get more into that in these next slides. So in DK, we spend a lot of our day, especially this first semester, playing. And you saw it in our daily schedule, lots of play in different ways. Sometimes playing on their own, sometimes playing with their table mates, sometimes playing where they're told what to play, and other times where they choose what they want to play and who they want to play with. And of course, I hope you know that play is much more than just play. There is so much happening when kids play and so much development. And as a DK teacher, it's actually really cool to see. And all of the classes that I took on childhood development and getting to see it in action here in the classroom is so cool. So this image that I've put here for you is so powerful. So play develops children in 4 different main ways, and certainly not even limited to the things that are on this chart, but just to give you an example. So of course, physical development, right? Both fine motor skills, small skills with the hands and fingers, and then gross motor skills where they're using their larger muscles are developed in play. Balance and coordination, which have been linked to reading ability and reading skills later on in life. The ability to cross the midline, things like that. So good physical development in kids. And then of course the cognitive development. And this is where a lot of our play is inquiry based and sort of open and not scripted, and the kids can kind of take it where it leads them, and they can really develop those inquiry skills and trial and error and what happens if and things like that when they're playing. And then of course I am right in front of our dramatic play area, which is always a favorite place for the kids. And here in dramatic play, there's so much language going on, and there's so much literacy development. And this is where we hear exactly what your house sounds like. And, you know, they pick up the baby and they feed the baby and they go grocery shopping, and they talk to each other in different roles other than what they are, you know, in real life. And it's so fun, and something that the kids really enjoy. And that is where they really develop a lot of that, those oral language skills and things like that. Then there's the social development, of course, which is a huge part of DK. That social development and being able to cooperate and get along, and conflict resolution, and what to do when the toy you want to play with is being used, and what to do when someone takes the toy that you're playing with, or things like that, that sort of just carry on in life, how to deal with that conflict. And then lastly, that emotional piece. And that's something that we really try to tap into as a district, like having empathy for others, and how to make others feel better, and how to care for each other. And of course, pieces like that self-regulation and impulse control. You know, I'm sitting on the rug, and, you know, somebody next to me is squirming around, and they might even be getting in my space, and what do I do and how do I handle it? And even if you saw something that was cool and you wanted to go touch it, but you know that you shouldn't be doing that, you should be doing something else. That's all part of that emotional development piece. And so when we play, I love the saying that play is not just play. So we have standards here in DK that we are always working towards. Those would be our end of the year benchmarks or goals. Of course, knowing what the kindergarten expectation is next year and trying to get all students there by the end of the year at their own pace. And so, of course, we do a lot with language arts, which kind of encompasses all parts of literacy. And so we start with, phonological awareness at the beginning of the year, which is just sounds. We play a lot of games. We do a lot of things together at circle time that build that sound awareness. And then we move on to the letters and knowing that the letters make sounds and they're all unique to each other. We read a ton of books, and while we read books, we talk about the concepts of print, which is something that you can do at home too, right? Where's the front of the book? Where's the back of the book? If I was going to read this page, where would I start reading? What's the difference between words and letters and sentences, and who's the author and who's the illustrator? We talk about all that kind of stuff almost every time that we read a book together in class. And of course, speaking, right? Being able to speak clearly so others can hear you and others can understand you, which can be a little difficult with the mask on, but we still are promoting good speaking and listening skills as well. Of course, math skills are very important as well, and math can really be integrated in a lot of ways through manipulatives and hands-on materials. So that's the way we always usually try to do things with beads and cubes and dice and links, and I could go on and on. The students have these opportunities to touch and play with these things and explore during table toy time as well as center time. Things that we work on specifically, you can see on the screen there, recognizing the numbers and being able to understand that a number correlates or corresponds to an actual number of objects, and that's called one-to-one correspondence. And that's the one that we work on right off the bat because many kids can count, uh, but quite a few kids don't understand that two actually means two objects, and that when you're counting, say you have a bunch of bears, we have these little counting bears, and knowing that you point to one bear at a time when you count, many kids will just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they're not actually counting the bears. And so we work on that one-to-one correspondence right at the beginning of the year. And it's kind of the foundation for where we go from there. That's something that you can do at home as well. And then so we combine and separate. We do a lot of graphing, tally marks, more than, less than, shapes. We do a lot with patterning and patterns and measurement. And we have a lot of fun with hands-on math experiences in DK. Of course, many opportunities to work with science concepts and social studies concepts as well. For science, we try to get out into nature as much as we can, walking around the buildings, grounds, and collecting things in the fall and noticing things and how they change when we go outside in the winter and how they change again once spring comes around. And so we also to talk about things like sinking and floating. And really our main goal for science is getting kids doing those scientific behaviors, like observing and classifying and experimenting and predicting and drawing conclusions, all of those really awesome things that will help them with all science concepts as they go through the grades. And then social studies, it kind of really matches with what a lot of what we do with those social emotional lessons. This is where we are understanding that everyone is different and that everybody is unique and special, and how do we help our community, and how do we help our neighbors, and we take a look at things in our environment. And in the spring, we talk about recycling and helping the environment and things of that nature. So, no homework in DK. I will not be assigning you any homework this year. Um, Generally speaking, homework is not something that I have supported over the years, but specifically in DK. This is a year of growth, and so you will not be getting any homework assignments from me. But I do have some things that I think that you could work on at home that would be really great for your DKer. I want you to read together at least every day. Read a book to them, put them on your lap, and talk about the book and talk about the characters and talk about what's the problem in the story and how do the characters solve their problem, and really just enjoy books and literature. And that is my number one thing that I would love for you to do if you're not already doing it. I want you to rhyme and sing and talk about nursery rhymes. And one thing that I would really love for you to do is to help your student with their independence, with tasks. So prior to coat and snow pant and boot season, please work on zipping and getting those things on all by themselves. The order of how to do things, right? The snow pants go on before the coat, and the mittens go on last. Things like that. Being able to put their lunchbox in their backpack by themselves. Being able to open up their water bottles and open up all the items that are in their lunch. I know Go-Gurts are popular, and the squeezies, and those things are often hard for kids to open, so practicing them at home is great. But I know that kids this age can be kind of slow, and so as adults we tend to do things for them just to kind of get it done. But it's super important for them to have all those opportunities to do things on their own, put their coat on by themselves, put their hat on by themselves, open up their cheese stick on their own, put on their shoes by themselves. And shoes, by the way, please, no tie shoes, unless your DKer knows how to tie them on their own, because we do take our shoes on and off, especially come snow pants season, and it is wonderful when those are slip-on shoes or Velcro shoes that they can do all on their own. And then, of course, encouraging and praising everything they do along the way, especially if they get those shout outs sent home. So all students in Lake Orion have a device, and here in DK we have iPads, and those shiny new iPads came home last week, and the kids were so excited. They actually thought I was giving them gifts. They were so happy. And so hopefully that is something that you've been able to explore with a little bit at home already. But here is what I am asking you for technology. Please make sure that each day you just give it a check and make sure it has some juice in it, so that when you send it back each day, it has enough for us to use in class. And if they don't remember to bring their iPad, it's okay. I just have them read books instead of using an iPad during that time. We do use our iPads almost daily. We will use them sort of like in conjunction with snack time. And this is obviously one of their favorite times. And one of the main things that we will use is an app called Seesaw. And I know many of you have already accepted my invitation to your family account, and I posted pictures there, and you can actually send me messages and I can send you messages. It's kind of like text messaging, and it's private, which is a really nice way for us to communicate. I don't know if you've set it up this way, but on my phone I have the notifications turned on, so as soon as anything happens in Seesaw, it notifies me just like a text message would. I will post pictures, important announcements, things like that will all go in Seesaw, just like this presentation was tonight. So one thing I want you to make sure that I bring to your attention is that there are actually two accounts. And so one account is the family account, and that is the one that I sent you the invitation electronically, and that's where I'll post the pictures and we can text message each other. And the other is the child's account, or the student account, and that's where your student will do work for me in their iPads. And so the QR codes that were sent home last Friday, please make sure that you have signed up your child through that QR code that is unique to them, to be sure that they can receive the Seesaw activities that I am assigning them as well. And those activities are done in class, not at home. But I just want to make sure that everybody has logged on and is familiar with Seesaw real soon here. And also, we have preloaded those iPads with apps that we would like to use together as a class. And so please do not delete any of the apps that have been installed on the iPad. As they say, communication is key, and I do believe that as well. So you can email me anytime. I try to respond as quickly as I can. However, many times during the day, DK is a busy, busy place, and I don't get to check my email until the kids leave for special, which is in the afternoon. And so please do not send me any emails the same day that have critical or time-sensitive information, because I just might not get it. So if you have, like, say, a change of dismissal plan, grandma is going to pick up today instead of going on the bus, please do not email that to me. I'll need for you to call that into the office instead. That way we'll just make sure that your message is heard, and the office will notify me of those types of things. You'll get a weekly newsletter that will go through Seesaw, as well as photos from the class. Every Friday, they'll have their folder come home, and it might have things in it that you will be interested in reading or looking at. And please send those folders back home every Monday. And then, of course, those shout outs letting you know all of the things that your DKer is awesome at here in the classroom. So at this time, I can't have any volunteers in the classroom, unfortunately, but I would love it if you were willing to be an at-home volunteer, where I could send something home in your child's backpack and have you help me out with things like cutting or gluing or getting a project ready to go, and then you just send it back a couple days later or whenever you're finished with it. And that is super helpful. And if you're interested in being an at-home volunteer, just shoot me an email and let me know. And also, parties at this time are still undetermined. So I know Halloween is just around the corner, but you'll receive information from me or from the school about how we plan to proceed for parties this year. So DK kids go to specials every day, just like all of the older kids who go to school here at Carpenter. And they travel a little bit differently than the older kids. So specials are a bit too long to sustain the attention of the DK kids. So what we have done is divided the time in half. So while most of the other grades, or all of the other grades, go to one special per day, DK goes to two specials per day, but for half the time. And so we go to PE, which is gym, and art and music and media, which is like library. And so if you look at the schedule there, when it says day one, And when the schedule says day 3, that's when we will go to art and PE. It's just that they will have half the time and go to both. When the schedule says day 2 and day 4, we will go to media and music, except they will go to both every time because we share the time. They split the time, and you can see there that the specials teacher will walk the class to the other special classroom for the other half of the time, and it works out great. It's the perfect amount of time for them to be with their specials teachers and not too long. And that concludes my curriculum night presentation. Thank you so much for joining me virtually tonight, and I hope to see you all soon. And anytime you have any questions or wonderings or concerns or anything, please feel free to email me anytime. And one last thing, I sent home a packet on day 1. And if you haven't had a chance, please take the time to go through that packet. I have requested that you send in some things and that you do some things. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows that that is something to read through if you haven't had a chance. Also, one last thing. If you could, please make sure that you are sending with your DKer a full-size backpack every day. And the preschool size ones fit their backs a little bit better. They're more appropriately sized for them, but they are not big enough for everything that we need to squeeze into them. And the kids get really frustrated when it's hard to fit things in their backpacks. And so if we could just alleviate that frustration, and a full-size roomy backpack will be great, especially come winter when we have a lot of things we need to shove in there. And so that's all. I am so excited for this school year, and I am so excited to spend the year with you and your child. Have a great night. Thank you.